So the question is like, what is a cult that is, dependent on the charismatic authority of its leader do when, the man who's getting direct transmissions from Master Jesus is like, communicating with like the spirit realm suddenly dies, right? I mean, like, to his credit, I guess he didn't do the thing that some other cults do and take the rest of them with him. But,
Yeah.
things started to fracture after his death. And it wasn't necessarily only related to him being gone, but it's a major question. What do you do? Right? It's like, Tito dies, right? Who takes over? And they actually had a very similar kind of approach to how that works.
Mhm.
So,
A council.
exactly. Yeah, since there wasn't anybody who would, immediately be able to fill those shoes and, take on the mantle of Father Paul, they had some sort of kind of rotating leadership within the esoteric council of members. I think almost always, I think it was a couple, maybe,
Mhm.
that would like take stewardship of the order for like a year and then transfer it on to a different one. So it's literally
So it's
it's literally
Yugoslavia.
Yugoslavia, yeah. And similarly, a lot of people wanted to, were kind of competing over who's going to be the next Tito.
And after 10 years, was there a war?
uh, I mean, kind of. I mean, they become Orthodox.
Oh,
They
wait.
have, there's quite a bit of fracturing here going on. So, I mean, there are some interesting accounts here. Like there were some people who were trying to claim that they were, getting transmissions from Master Jesus himself, and trying to fill that charismatic role, rather unsuccessfully. So soon after his death, the order headquarters moves out of San Francisco to this newly purchased, like, expansive compound in Forestville, California, which was purchased for about, like, in today's money, like $1.3 million. I'm just trying to give a sense for how much money they had to fucking throw around, that they're just buying like $1 million compound that, had been like a corporate retreat before, had like all kinds of nice buildings and all this kind of stuff. By the way, that Forestville compound would later be like the kind of Orthodox headquarters where Death to the World had their mailing address. It was
Okay.
pumping out that DIY zine. So even though like they did have this, crisis of leadership, they did continue to expand in 75, and began sending more missionaries abroad, particularly Europe, Germany, the Netherlands, UK, with kind of questionable success there. It seems that like a lot of Europeans were just being like, what is this American bullshit? Like, get out of
Mhm.
here. Weren't super receptive to them. But those centers actually did stay for a while. And this is kind of plays a crazy role in the 90s with Russia that we'll talk about in the next episode. I'm building a lot towards the next episode. I know I said this was going to be kind of a little bit of a slog, but I really do. Nobody else has talked about this, maybe for a reason, but I want to get through this. So, they're continuing to do their missionary work. They're starting to focus more on family life and accommodating uh, married couples. I think there were more marriages allowed
Mhm.
and approved of, and kind of allowing for more autonomy away from just the brother houses and sister houses, right? But there would be two major events in 1978. So yeah, I mean, between 75 and 78, it's this rotating, Yugoslavia after
Mhm.
Tito presidency, uh, with like, some expansion, some contraction, some people leaving, some people staying, this kind of whole push and pull. But 1978 is a very major year, and it would change them forever. So the leadership crisis finally resolves itself with the installation of Master Andrew, aka Vincent Rossi, whose music we listened to in the beginning of the episode, and his wife, Master Esgesian, um, to the role of director and co-director of the order. So Vincent Rossi seemed like actually a pretty good choice for a lot of reasons. Again, he's actually much older than most order members at this time. Not on the level of, he's not as old as Father Paul was, but in 78 he was 47. I guess he was born.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he was born in Rhode Island in 1931. He briefly attended Catholic seminary before deciding it wasn't really for him. He had a career as like a Chinese language specialist in U.S. Naval Intelligence, which is interesting. And like we heard in the beginning, he was a composer and was an early member of the Holy Order of Mans. So, I mean, he was kind of a serious guy, right? Like he had a career before all this. He wasn't just like one of these dudes that came in off a bad acid trip and got set up. Like seems to be a very kind of astute and serious guy. But not long after, his, I guess, enthronement in this big ceremony in the Forestville compound, Jonestown happens.
Take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece.
If you want access to this full episode along with hundreds of other hours of assorted weirdness, subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/tenepod and help us out a little bit.